Audio is recording. Okay. Uh, Hello, everybody tuning in from Spotify or Apple Music through the audio, and everybody on the videos. Welcome to another episode of Jouska. It's been a while. It's been actually a few weeks, but I didn't really set a specific sort of time schedule towards this, so it's good in that way. So no rush. I'm also studying. I'm also doing a lot of different things. Yeah, but enough about that. Let's begin the show. So this is Jouska. Jouska is a show covering everything and anything human, exploring people and personalities from different industries, from different backgrounds, different social dynamics. Yeah, you get the picture. We're just here to talk about anything. Jouska quite literally means a hypothetical conversation that you have in your head, and this is a safe space for you to release those thoughts without any judgment, without any backlash. And people in the comments, be nice, but also if you have any concerns or any questions, I would love to have the sort of comment section alive. So please post your ideas on and what your opinions are on the things we'll be discussing today, because we're all human and we make mistakes, and I guess we just gotta help each other learn from it. Yeah, so before we begin the show, I think this is the first show where we actually have an official sponsor, two official sponsors actually. And yeah, so one of the first one is this episode is brought to you by Rolling. So Rolling is a homegrown e-liquid company um, brought to you by a few friends of mine actually, and they were willing to sponsor me for these shows. So I smoke um, e-cigarettes now, or pods as you like to call them, or vapes, or whatever it is. And yeah, Rolling provides some really great flavors. My personal favorite is the mango Jiro, and yeah, you guys should check it out. They're available on Instagram through the handle rolling.eliquid. So check it out. They have mango Jiro, blackcurrant, cherry tobacco for those of you who are strong tobacco advocates, and what was the other one? Blackcurrant, and yeah, breakfast crunch, which is what I'm on right now. So yeah, for those tuning in on the video, here it is, and you can see over there rolling. So breakfast crunch, yeah, I don't really like creamy, but these guys have really been able to sort of synthesize a great liquid with that really pulls out the flavor, and you can get them in two variations, which is the one in low, which is at 35 mgs, and 50 mgs. So whatever your preference is, they've got you covered. Yeah, they're basically salt based. Yeah, all details can be found on their page. Anyways, let's get back to the show. So, today's show, I'm very excited to introduce you guys to a special friend of mine, Faris Zakaria, who, yeah, I've known for quite a number of years now. And he's a great friend of mine since high school. And one of the reasons why I brought Faris, or you, onto this show is because, like, you and me have always had this ability to sort of dive deep in certain conversations, especially surrounding society, surrounding the general populace in general, and yeah, and I really enjoy that about you.
Glad to be here, bro.
Welcome. Um, yeah. Other than that, yeah. Why don't you just take some time to introduce yourself, man? Yeah. Other than what I've been introducing.
Hi, I'm Faris, and I've been friends with Nick since school,
Mm-hmm.
since Form 4, Form 5, yeah.
Why don't you tell what you've been sort of going through as a from a personal perspective, like your life, like what are certain things or your motivations, give our listeners a bit of a sort of insight onto your life and like what you know you're paying attention to.
Okay, I'll start with my background. I live in Rawang. I've uh, grown in, I grew up in Rawang, so I have that suburban background, but in Form 4 and Form 5, I went to a private school basically. It
Yeah,
builds a lot of my perspective because a
KTJ.
suburban kid going into a private school, so it changes me
Yes.
in a way. So
KTJ represent.
KTG represent. So my perspective, my motivation comes from basically both worlds, suburban background and urban background. So I
Mm.
think I have a lot to say.
The streets and also the urban. So I think that's a pretty like it shapes something right about a person, and I think that's something that you and I can both relate to because like we sort of like tasted what it's like to you know yeah, not to say be on the streets but come from a learning background that is very governmental based,
True. Yeah.
and also we come from a place where it's very internationalized,
Yes.
and I guess yeah, that really broadens certain horizons. Don't you agree?
I do agree.
Yeah. What would you say, like the little things that I guess we experienced in KDJ that really shaped it?
First of all, the social circles in a government background and in a private school is very different. The way they interact, the way the information that we receive is very different. So in that way, I guess it really broadens my horizon. So
Mm,
it motivates me to basically link up these urban mindsets and the suburban mindset so that basically
yeah.
we can be one.
Yeah,
You know?
quite literally. And I think like I mean like obviously the sort of the urban or sort of international sort of mindset, like it's sort of how to say its benefits, yeah, basically its benefits are very much clear, right? Because you're exposed to certain like new perspectives, people from different backgrounds coming
Yeah.
from different countries. But I think what's not really talked about is things from the street, things from the urban culture. So like I don't know, man. For me personally, man, like I think me just being able to learn Malay, bro, from like a totally different context provides you like a certain strength, within the urban or governmental sort of side. And I don't know if you agree, but being able to communicate with the people around you, with the general population that didn't have the luxury to go to, private school and all this kind of stuff. And yeah, the
Yeah.
fact that you're able to relate to them, I think, like, don't you agree? Like,
I do agree
yeah,
because the dissemination of information throughout the suburban crowd and the international crowd is very different because the
yeah,
suburban crowd is exposed to more of a national mass produced media, whereas the international crowd is basically a global citizen which gets information from a lot more sources
yeah,
than the national mass media,
yeah,
what the national mass
exactly.
media portrays.
Because I guess like the important thing is also like that we have to realize, even as we're branching into sort of a more international sphere, like, come on, lah, we. we can't forget our roots, bro. Like,
Yeah, it's
you know,
very true.
like kita dari Malaysia, like,
Yeah.
like, dude, memang tak boleh lupa lah, like, the people that actually shaped us, the society that actually mold us to become the people that we are.
Yeah.
And I think that like quite literally like, you know, brings a whole different element into it. And I don't know, I feel like a lot of people who, I don't know, who don't get the chance to sort of get to that sort of international sphere or interact with the international sphere kind of look down on themselves. And I don't know, I don't think they should.
For me, in
Yeah.
my perspective, is everyone is so confident from the information they get that it creates a divide because the suburban crowd is very confident on the things they get from the media. They fail to
Mm.
realize the big picture. But whereas the
Mm.
urban crowd, the international crowd, gets a lot from global news sources, global
Yeah.
media, but they tend to lose touch
Yes.
on the
It's exactly what I'm
reality
thinking,
of the country. Yeah.
man.
So I
Yeah.
guess it's an advantage for me
Yeah.
because,
Feel free to move. Oh, feel
oh,
free.
all right,
Did
because
the audio
I
get
think
cut?
it's an advantage for me because I've been in both worlds, so it shapes my perspective in that way.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not saying that I'm above anyone, but it's just how I am shaped. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Feel free to move the mic to wherever you're comfortable to. You need to bring it a bit closer.
Oh yeah,
Sorry.
closer.
You can bring it down. You can twist it around. I think so.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it's a bit awkward.
Yeah.
Alright, yeah. Well,
But you can hear
yeah,
me
yeah.
all right.
The audio is pretty clear.
Okay.
But yeah, wherever you're comfortable doing it. But yeah, back to the topic. Yeah, you were saying like that. Yeah, bringing yourself into an international sort of sphere, spectrum, kind of takes a certain like it takes a few phases before you should get there, right? Because if you jump straight into international as well, like you said, it makes us lose touch with what's actually happening around us. And in the end, that is the people that we need to sort of work with, In the end, like, man, like, yeah, sure, your ideas of watching movies from America or whatever foreign country there is, it's great. You learn a lot about culture, but man, in the end, you still kau kat Malaysia tu, kau kena guna like whatever you learn from there to bring it back because in the end, the people that surround you is like Malaysians
Yeah.
and the local people. So I guess yeah, I personally can relate to that, right? And because I spent most of my sort of young years like in government school in like but I sort of dreaded it, man, at the start because obviously there needs to be a balance lah kan,
Yeah.
right?
Same
Kalau
here.
kalau just satu benda je memang like gagak, right? It gets tiring lah, you
Yeah.
get bored. So I guess I understand where the youth is coming from, but I guess the international sphere is always accessible, especially nowadays. So I think it's very crucial at this point to sort of balance it out because I think it's because the access is so easy to this international sphere, and the international sphere usually provides much better content,
True.
much
That's
better,
very true.
So they're most probably just like gonna forget about their local people, that might even trickle down to them even forgetting about their family or like looking down upon their family just because their parents didn't have that luxury and so on and so forth. But yeah, I guess going back into your sort of motivations, right? And I personally know you, and I think it'd be great to sort of help our listeners understand a little bit more. But one thing I really like about you is how you're sort of able to how to say, you even though you go into the international spectrum, but there's a certain niche that you focus on. And like, why is that? Like, I mean, like, for example, we talk a lot about society in general and like, the phases that we're going through as a collective and also individually. So what sort of gave you that motivation in the start, Like, why? Why did it pique your interest?
Well, it started when after I
A
went
little
into.
close.
All right. Closer.
Yeah.
All right.
You can read that.
So I would say that I am a progressive, and my motivation came basically when after I went into international school
Mm.
and I brought what I learned back into my neighborhood and to talk with my friends, and they simply don't understand it. They don't understand my
Mm.
perspective. So I was a bit dumbfounded, because like
Yeah.
the information is there. Why aren't they consuming that, and why can't we have a conversation that is really constructive?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I start wondering why, and I start observing the types of media they consume,
Mm.
and it really motivates me to actually,
Work
you know,
harder.
work harder and
Yeah.
change the media that
Yeah.
is change what the media is feeding
Yeah.
to the mass population.
But in any of this, do you ever feel that you were wrong, or maybe you had it sort of like off, and like they were the ones that you should follow?
Of course, there's
Yeah.
always that
Yeah.
feeling, when you are different from your friends. Of course, you want to be the
Mm.
same so that you would be accepted in the circle.
Yeah.
So during my younger years, it was really a challenge, because I need to choose which side I have to go with.
Yeah.
So it
What made
really.
you decide that you wanted to go with, the sort of path that you took?
um,
What sort of
I guess growing up, and like learning through my experience
yeah.
really shaped my mindset.
Mm. I
About
guess like I guess it boils down to also like I think you made the right choice there definitely, and like I think that sort of roots because of like just the basic underlying reason of like following what you believe in, man, and
Yes,
like following what you love, especially, and how that can reap its own rewards, instead of succumbing to the pressures of the people around you, right?
yes, that is
Would you
very
agree?
true.
Yeah.
Um, I would admit that I am still at an exploring stage,
Yeah.
even though I am already 25 years old. But
Ah,
you're
man,
never
it's a
too old
never,
to learn,
yeah,
right?
it's
You're
never
never too
ending,
old to
man. It's a
learn.
never ending process.
Yeah.
It's like,
Because for me, like having
you think
a
you know something, but then, oh no, you don't, bro.
exactly, having the confidence to say that you know the truth only makes your mind susceptible to
Yeah.
confirmation biases.
Yeah.
And I'm all against confirmation bias
It's the
because I
ego.
know that is
Yeah.
the 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 opposite of finding the truth.
Yeah, exactly. It's the killer of inspiration
Yeah.
because you feel like you already know,
Yeah.
and that kind of like stops you. So you gotta, just a degree, stay humble. Especially for the listeners out there. Like I think that's what this message like kind of delivers, right? It's just like sort of, even though you think you're fucking smart, even though you sort of like read the books that people haven't read, but you also gotta stay humble because you don't know.
Yeah, you
You
can
don't.
learn new
Yeah.
things every day from everyone you meet.
Yeah.
you can't know like the absolute truth. For me, that is life basically.
Yeah, man. Quite literally. And this is one of the reasons why I relate so much to Faris because, the humility is a very important part of it all, especially for anybody of you that is listening who have a problem with sort of not to say an ego problem, but also to say an ego problem. Yeah. But yeah, I'm sure everybody struggles with it, and I've struggled with it too because at one point I thought just because I'm exposed to all these things, like I'm better than some people, but no, life sometimes punches you back in the face and says like, hey, all that smart.
Yeah, you have lots more to
Yeah,
learn actually.
exactly. Especially in those early days. And yeah, I guess that really that's a super super fucking great start towards this podcast, right? Bringing a lot of value to our listeners, and I think that's what it's essentially about, right? I think this is what Jouska is, and I mean, yeah, we're here to discuss certain things, personal things, but I think we're also here to create platform for other people to grow from brands to grow from. So hit up. That's a signal for other sponsors if you guys want to help in. Platforms everywhere. You can just. But yeah, anyways, that's yeah. Other than that, man, I mean, let's get down to some personal sort of interests and personal uh, not to say personal but specific interests was there any movie or any person that sort of came into your life that provided you with more of what you are, like whether it's your parents, your books or idols that you look up to?
All right. So my the person, the people who shape how I think are different throughout the ages. When I was young, my eldest brother is one of my inspirations because he was a conspiracy head, basically.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
My brother's exactly the same thing, and he was the person that told me Obama worship the devil, bro. And
I watch things like The Arrivals.
Yeah, oh my god,
about
The Arrivals,
Dajjal
yes.
and stuff, right?
Yeah. That I think set a tone, but I think that was a bit of an unhealthy tone.
Yeah, it was unhealthy.
Yeah.
But then I progressed into Radiohead because
Ah.
Radiohead, what uh, portrays that kind of idea, basically anti-capitalism, anti-establishment, how the industry f's up the artists, basically. Then
and the society in general.
yeah, about society in general. Then after Radiohead, I started really look into the realities of the world. So I started reading stuff from Orwell, from Huxley, to understand social control and stuff, and just to relate it to what's happening to the world. So I started basically reading news and understanding the reality of what's happening.
More and more about where we started from.
Yeah.
Probably from your brother and all that stuff. It just grew.
Yeah.
And would you say you intentionally guided yourself towards that, or was it a sort of a path that was how to say, it was just placed upon you, or did you consciously hey, this is the path that I want to take, or did certain environments push you towards it?
I would say it was the environment.
It was the environment.
It was the environment. I started to really know my path when I was 24, 25. But before that, what shaped me into what I am now is basically the environment and the things that I am exposed to.
Sorry, just took a puff of the cigarette, of the e-cigarette. I stopped smoking, guys. Just so you guys know. I'm trying to. I think I've succeeded quite well. Maybe I've come back to being a social smoker. But anyways, um, yeah. I mean, like sometimes there's like a bigger benevolent force, right? That sort of like has helped us, or especially me. I feel like personally, I feel so thankful that there was two paths it could have gone, right? Like it could have gone like okay, full on anti-establishment, and like that can be a bit extreme and a bit dangerous.
Yes.
And like I've been very fortunate to be guided by you know so
People,
many different people,
yeah,
so many
people around us shapes us.
environments,
Yeah,
yeah,
our environment.
and like I don't know, shout out to God as well, man, for even like allowing us to sort of explore explore it from a very neutral perspective, right? Yeah. Yeah. Speaking on the tangent of God, I mean, like this is just a personal thing, but I mean, what is your sort of belief on the higher power? I know you're a Muslim and like, but even though we classify ourselves as Muslims, but we obviously have our personal like sort of ideas on God and our certain doubts and all that stuff. But what would you say is yours?
Okay. Talking about God and religion
Yeah,
now.
yeah.
Yeah.
We should be treading on eggshells here, but I think we should be fine. Yeah.
Okay. My personal belief. I believe in fate, that
Mm.
what God sets. So I'm very grateful to God for entangling my fate with certain people,
Mm.
such as you, Nick. Yeah, that's
Thanks,
why we
man.
are here
Yeah,
tonight
I
talking about
guess.
this. But
Yeah.
I am also a bit wary of organized religion,
Mm.
because for me, religion is very personal,
Yeah.
and
Just like
we,
Islam says, you cannot force religion on people. It's written in the Quran, and I know that for a fact. The ustads and ulamas previously before this have even told me that. So I guess I understand where your worry comes from.
yeah,
It's like sometimes you can't trust the
the,
some imams.
yeah, the people who
Yeah,
claim that they are talking for God, basically.
yeah,
Yeah,
they're just people.
they're
They're
just
still
people.
people as
Yeah,
well.
how
It's
can
like
they know for sure that God's word
yeah,
comes through them, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So I guess that I understand a bit of the distrust that we have among like society, and I guess that's why like I really firmly believe that the relationship that you have to God is personal, and I don't think we can judge anyone whether they're Christian, whether they're Jews, or whether they're Buddhists or anything like that, because like who knows? Maybe they are right. I'm not. I believe in my own beliefs. I know that Islam is the path that I should go through, but I cannot be confident enough to say, hey, you in another religion, you're wrong.
Yep.
Maybe their religion is just defined differently, but they're talking about the same thing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because when it all boils down, you go to heaven because of Tuhan punya rahmat. Basically,
Hmm.
it's God's will. God would determine whether you go to heaven or hell.
Yeah.
So to say a person from another religion is wrong, they're
Yeah.
going to hell,
Yeah.
is very shallow.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
to even, I don't know, to even classify them as kafir. The word kafir is a very broad term. Kafir just means the non-believers.
Yeah.
And I think like if you do have a certain sort of belief to a higher power, but this is just my personal belief, guys. Okay, I'm not trying to offend anyone or trying to dis disprove anyone's belief about what Islam is and like what their belief of Islam is, but I think as a Muslim, I encourage other Muslims to begin thinking of the word kafir and to begin thinking of you know what it means and how broad that term is because the word kafir is just means the disbelievers. And I really think personally, if you just don't believe in the idea of God or the idea of that something bigger than you sets the tone of your life, is kafir, man. But man, if you're a Buddhist or a Hindu, but you understand that hey, you are smaller than life. You are smaller than the things that control life. I think to a certain degree, you are not a kafir in that sense.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's still. This is just something I'm discussing for listeners. Please don't get offended. And if you do, I would love to have a discussion about it. I might be completely wrong. Maybe I will sin, because of what I'm saying. But again, coming back to the point, my relationship with Allah is personal. It's only He gets to decide whether I'm sinning or not. It's the malaikas around that decide whether I'm sinning or not. And if I do sin, then I will pay, right?
In my opinion,
Yeah.
we by discussing this, by questioning this, it actually relates to the spirit of Islam because in Surah Luqmanul Hakim, it says that you cannot follow blindly.
Mm.
So by following blindly, like you cannot learn about life as God meant for us to learn.
Mm.
But
Yeah, that totally makes sense, because I don't know, like you just mentioned a specific surah, but I know for a fact that like Allah has always told us to question everything, and I don't think that is limited in any sense. You shouldn't put that scope or that microscope under one place. Like you should begin questioning the things that people say to you. You should also like how to say question to a certain degree what you've read in the Quran, and if you are guided by the right paths, like I think the questions will be answered in the right way. Because like I don't find myself straying away from helping people. I don't find myself straying away from prayers. I mean, I'm not perfect. I don't pray 5 times a day, but man, I know for a fact that that works.
yeah,
But at the same time, there was a point of me that questioned it. There was a point of me that, hey, does it actually work? But I guess that's when trial and error comes in, right?
yeah.
See how your life improves from prayer. See how your life doesn't improve from the lack of prayer, right? I think
The key point
yeah,
is to always keep your mind open and to learn.
yeah,
Basically, right?
exactly. And Allah always encourages to expand our mind, just like how the universe He provides constantly expands. I don't think your mind should be limited to that, you know. But yeah, I think this is. I think we tread on the eggshells quite well here. I mean, yeah. I don't know. I could be wrong. Religion is a super sensitive topic,
Yeah,
and
we could be wrong,
yeah,
and I hope that anyone who views this and knows
yeah.
that we are wrong,
Please tell us.
yeah, tell
Tell us
us.
your opinion.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna keep questioning you as well.
Yeah.
But yeah. Other than that, there are certain things that I want to acknowledge about the effects of religion onto the society and how it's also used as a political tool.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't know. Sometimes I feel like certain politicians, or I'm not gonna name anyone because that'll probably get me in a whole lot of trouble. I think Mahathir just reopened up the ISA in a whole different sort of spectrum. So yeah, not gonna name anyone. Um, but yeah, using religion as a political tool to sort of drive society to a certain mindset is, I don't know, my personal take is it's bad. It's like you're enforcing religion onto someone else, which is, again, Muhammad has said this, in the various surahs and the various hadiths that go around, like you shouldn't force it. If the person is not ready to accept it, then they can't accept it. But what do you think, man? Like using religion as a political instrument?
Well, this is using religion as a political instrument has been the the way that the government control people since the dawn of time, basically since Babylonian era.
That's true.
You
Because
can,
I guess if you manage to tap into that person's belief of what reality and existence sprouts from, or like their belief in God, you're able to get them to do anything.
yeah,
Yeah.
the most nasty example I can think of is during the Dark Ages in Europe,
Mm.
how the churches use people to get money,
Yeah.
use people to basically listen to the kings, even though the kings are very brutal.
Yeah,
They kill,
yeah.
they take brides before.
Rape.
Yeah, they rape the brides before marriage day because in the name of religion, because
Yeah.
the kings have absolute power and how you can't go against the king, all in the name of religion.
It's really taking advantage of God's work,
Yeah.
and like I think those are the people that we should classify as kafirs. The people who pretend to be religious entities, but in the end serve the true purpose of Satan. Yeah.
I wouldn't say personally they serve Satan.
Yeah,
but
yeah,
they
yeah.
are serving themselves for sure,
Yeah,
right?
exactly. One thing for sure is they're not serving God.
Yeah, they're not serving God.
But yeah, it is truly something to ponder. And I guess the reason why I brought all of this up is because I urge all of you to realize these things, to sort of bring bring this into play when you make certain decisions or when you create certain emotions regarding politics, regarding certain religions, especially with the tensions going very strong in Malaysia right now with what's happening with the introduction of Jawi. What was the word they used? What is it called?
Hut. The Jawi calligraphy.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's called hut.
Hut. Yeah. Yep, that's what they're pushing into, and it's created a lot of racial divide, amongst societies and amongst the different elements of our society. And yeah, it's evident through sort of how the Chinese are backlashing. Yeah, exactly, and it's very very worrying. Knowing that, hey, we're sort of I thought this was all about a new Malaysia kind of thing, and like ever since this new political party has come in, and yeah, the new political party has no right to sort of arrest me for shitting on them, yeah, but because they encourage a free media, right? That's exactly what they say. They encourage a free media, so this is free media right here. I'm like really questioning, like, hey, please don't use certain sensitive topics to push agendas because you're just stirring the pot when it's not really necessary at this point. Like, I get what you're trying to do, introduce, but why wasn't this introduced 20 years ago?
Yeah.
When the same people were in power, and why wasn't it? Why now?
Can I say something about that? for the hard introduction issue,
Mm.
um, I'm not totally against it because calligraphy is a form of art,
Yeah, I
and
get it. Yeah,
yeah, and I'm all for artistic appreciation in Malaysia because I
yeah.
think that the
I think that's
mass,
what we grew up on to a certain degree. Yeah,
yeah.
artistic
Uh,
appreciation. Yeah.
but oh my god, I forgot what I was going to say.
Yeah, your appreciation of calligraphy and
Yeah,
art.
the
Why?
appreciation of
Why you
calligraphy.
think it's?
Yeah, but the introduction of art is the last thing we need in the reform of our education
Yeah,
system.
I think it's the last.
Yeah,
Yes,
we need a
exactly,
lot more
man.
things to like really revamp our education
Yeah,
system. But why? Why art?
yeah, exactly. Like exactly. I really feel like this new government is trying to stir a pot that they don't even realize that they're stirring, or maybe they do. Who knows? You know. But yeah, like it's so it begs the the question, like what is going on. Actually, there's a lot more other things that we can revamp. Classes still remain the same as it was during Independence Day. It's a
Exactly.
desk, a wooden chair, and a whiteboard. No, okay, the only thing that has changed, it changed from a
Blackboard
chalkboard
and
to a
chalkboard.
whiteboard. Like what the like come on, man. Like there are other things, like students are stimulated, especially now the new generation are stimulated by more things. They need more things to capture their attention.
Do you
And
know Vietnam has
mm,
introduced coding classes to primary school kids?
and that's basic, right?
Yeah,
That's basic, dude. I can remember the IT classes that I used to go to when I was in government school, and even when I was in international school taking government syllabuses. I took IT both in government stream and the international stream, and it was totally different,
oh
bro.
really?
Yeah, totally different, man. Like what we learned in the sort of government one was super basic. We were
It's super
learning
basic.
about Windows 95 or something like that. 98, 2000 at most, like XP lah, at most. Not even, okay lah, Vista. Even though there was like Windows 7 and all that stuff, but man, like it was. And then when I jumped into the international stream, they taught you how to build websites. They
Wow.
taught you how to sort of use your mind to, actual things, and it really
Actually
shows.
create
Yeah,
something.
exactly. Use your skills to, be a part of this new technological movement. And yeah, like just little things like that. Just coding should have been the basic thing that we should have introduced before CAD.
Yeah,
Like
exactly.
what the hell? Like what's going on there? So I don't know. Like again, I'm just bringing up these concerns. We're bringing up these concerns again to stimulate conversation, to stimulate discussion. Again, we might be wrong, but if you do feel like we're right, please bring it up with your local MPs. The youth of Malaysia. I think this is one of the most important things that we should bring up to our youth minister, Syed Saddiq. And yeah, instead, I mean, Gojek is a great initiative, but not a priority of the youth right now.
Priority of the youth.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, go ahead, do Gojek. I think Gojek will do a great amount of work for society. And what do you think about that? Do you have any thoughts on what's happening with the Gojek?
Well, kudos to Syed Saddiq for
Yeah,
going through with that motion.
yeah,
But in essence, that is not, in my opinion,
yeah,
that is not the Ministry of Youth. Um, what responsibility?
yeah. To a
Because
certain
that is
degree.
actually the Ministry of Transport's
Yeah,
responsibility. But
I guess yeah,
Syed Saddiq shows that he could do work in a very fast pace,
yeah,
and Once
I
again,
guess
kudos to him.
I guess yeah, big kudos to that because I guess he's looking forward. He's not going to be youth minister forever, you know. So he's trying to show from an early standpoint that hey, he can cover topics that are beyond his sort of department, and I sincerely applaud it that you know that he's stepping outside of what he's doing and also providing for what he's doing. You know, to a certain, it's not like he's neglecting his department to a certain degree. But I mean, I agree with you in the sense that Gojek is not the main priority of the government right now because I just found out even yesterday, Bungkus 8. I don't know if you know the app,
I haven't heard of it.
but it's basically Gojek.
Oh,
It's basically Gojek just without maybe just less infrastructure. But we already have a homegrown company that is doing the exact same thing. And Bunko said, man, like you can get anything, bro. It's like yesterday my friend was using it, and it's like 4 or 5 a.m. and it just posts out a job, and like yeah, you know, a person just responds and it's like, okay, what do you need? Oh, we can get you food. They can get you like medical supplies. They can get you all this kind of stuff, which is essentially Gojek.
no,
And
isn't Gojek is like Grab for motorcycles?
It's more than that.
It's
That
more
is
than
one
that.
of the services, but
Oh,
what they
okay.
can do is essentially is they can provide anything for you through motorcycles and so on and so forth. I mean, I understand. Yeah, he's bringing up the concerns of motorcyclists and how they can find jobs, you know, instead of relying on Food Panda and
Yeah.
all this kind of stuff.
Mhm.
But there's already a homegrown company here, and why I'm just questioning why are you bringing you know a company that we will in the end throw our money that will turn into rupiah and that will help an economy that has nothing to do with us, not to say nothing to do with us, but yeah, the Indonesian government will win more over there. And I think it's I don't know the specifics, but it looks kind of shady to me. It just looks kind of shady. I feel like maybe on the back end, he's getting some sort of Gojek even probably approached him. I don't know. I could be wrong. So, Sai Sade, if you're out there listening, like please answer my questions regarding this. Why Gojek? You know, why not develop a Malaysian app? God damn it, I can do it one for you. You know, I'm studying technopreneurship right now, and we can sit down and I can establish certain ideas on how we can, you know, grow this. But again, I'm not trying to sell myself. But my point is that there are many solutions to grow the actual youth of this country. Not even the youth, the people that you're trying to help, which is the motorcyclists and all this stuff. Why not just create a government-based Gojek? You know, and I think services and commodities like this should be government run because Malaysia tends to do this thing where we try to keep up. We're like, oh, Indonesia is doing Gojek, we should bring Gojek. Oh, America's doing Uber, we should bring in Uber.
True,
And it's
but
like,
we
but
don't actually have our own innovation.
yeah,
That
why not throw some money in and like help develop certain companies within Malaysia who are doing the exact same thing, and yeah, make it better. And you know, in fact, you stand to earn a lot more money. Don't you agree? Because like it's self-developed in the long run. Like, hey,
yeah.
it's gonna be so much better. But yeah, I don't know. If you have any personal thoughts on that, you can continue to share. What do you think? Do you think we should like sort of invest in other companies trying to come in here, or do you think we should invest in empowering the people that we have already?
I am all for local entrepreneurship
Mm.
because
But but that begs the question, right? Are we ready as a society? Do you think we'll put in the work?
yeah, I cannot answer that, man.
Yeah.
I cannot answer that. But I think from my own perspective,
Yeah.
from the people I see, from the people I follow on social media, people my age, there's a lot of very committed businessmen, very committed entrepreneurs, but they do not seem to have the platform or the proper funding
Yeah.
to actually start
To execute.
to execute their
Yeah.
ideas. So what happens is they
Malaysians-
just start
Yeah.
and their company don't grow because they cannot grow,
Yeah.
and they just venture into another thing. So
Yeah.
that idea just dies like that. So
I
it's
guess
very
that-
saddening.
I guess that is very condescending, exactly. And it's like there's this certain mentality that goes on, and you see it across various industries, whether it's from sports to music, where Malaysians tend to look down on themselves. Malaysians tend to shit on each other, like, hey, you're not good enough, until they go international. For example, Yuna. For example, Nicole David. I mean, like, I don't know exactly because the squash scene is still very young, and I personally played squash and I grew. But Nicole David had to leave the country to become the person that she was. She needed to train in Amsterdam to get the respect, because then the Malaysian people are like, oh shit, she's training in Amsterdam. Confirm the power though.
Yeah,
Confirm the power.
there's a lot of cases of researchers like R&D from Malaysia that cannot push their products through local channels, so they had to sell their research to international countries and patent it there, so those countries can export their products into Malaysia for them to get the money from the products,
Yeah.
because Malaysians do not trust what the
Malaysians.
Malaysians
Yeah,
make,
exactly.
right?
And I think that stigma needs to be removed, man.
Yeah.
Like, to a certain degree, we need to begin trusting each other as a society, and then that's why we're lacking, and that's, I think, why people can't execute, because every time they want to do something, dia orang kena peli tu. Dia orang kena peli, kena maki.
Yeah.
Like, what the hell, dude? Like, bagi je lah dia chance. If he fails, then he deserves the shit that comes through. Tapi before that, like, I don't think you have any reason to sort of doubt the person, you know?
Yeah, if you don't have like something nice to say, if you don't like their work, give constructive criticisms.
Yeah.
Don't just
Not
perli,
just-
jangan
yeah.
don't just bring them down.
Yeah, don't
like
demotivate them.
Yeah,
man.
don't demotivate them.
I mean, yeah, that's something that, you know, again, covers a lot of different industries. Even, I think that's even why our movies are like super, how to say, limited. I mean, they've been getting very good, but we sort of keep on shitting on it, and eventually people realize that that is the trend. Malaysians love to shit on people, so they keep making shitty movies. You know, it's like a trap that we keep on putting ourselves each other in.
Yeah, it's like a never-ending loop, because when you try to make a quality movie and people don't like it, they would tend to go back to the normal template of movie making to get more money.
Yeah, because they're scared.
Yeah,
they don't want to be shut on.
But then if you want to expand the Malaysian appreciation of good movies, you need to make like movies that is out of the box, but then it's not appreciated, so it goes back to the template. So it's like
exactly, man.
It doesn't expand our
growth.
Our growth.
It just
doesn't encourage growth.
Repetitive, and that's why you keep seeing the same dramas, talking about the same things, because people are afraid, you know, and like, exactly, man. Like, I think the whole country has a huge anxiety problem. A huge anxiety problem that needs to begin to be addressed, because mental health is very important, man.
Yeah, but also mental health is a taboo among our society.
Yes, it is still very taboo. I guess we're expecting too much again, because we're basing this on like an international spectrum, right? We're basing it like other countries and especially the Western countries, right? But I mean, I understand why we're still anxious because what we're still very young. How many years are we as a society? 50 years, 50 plus years.
60
Oh yeah,
from
yeah.
60 from
Already
America.
60. Yeah.
Yeah, America has
So
been like a 200 plus year
yeah,
old country. That's
I
why
mean, like, no, actually, they've been a global superpower for well over 700 years. Yeah, it's like, yeah, I guess, yeah, this just takes some time, but I guess conversations like this stimulate that growth even faster.
Yeah.
Honestly, like, we've been shitting on Malaysia, but here's the part where I really am proud of this country is that, dude, we've been able to catch up quite fast. You know, even though we're young as a society, we've been able to catch up quite fast. And maybe that has to do with the internet. Maybe that has to do with the little people that actually have love for this country, that actually have motivations, creativity to make it better. And I guess like that really dives us into sort of the creative sphere. That's a great segue into the creative sphere of Malaysia. And where do you think we are in terms of sort of the creative climate and what where and what do you think, especially you as a person who plays music in a band and who's been seeing the growth of local bands, you know, who's been on the front line pretty much over the past few years. Like, what do you think is happening right now on a creative scale?
um, in the local band scene, in the indie scene, basically, the growth is there. Um, People in the independent scene has been exploring like multiple genres, has been exploring like very fine ways of playing music, but then there is still the problem of public acceptance.
Mm.
And that is something that I really want to change. One of my motivation is to change public acceptance towards different types of music, but I still do not know how.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's still a very hard thing to bridge, right?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I guess like on that tangent, like I think my personal perspective of where it is, and I've sort of been on the front lines to a certain degree, is that like, yeah, it's still a bit iffy, you know, and we don't know where and how we're gonna like sort of push the the creative sphere forward, you know, and get people to accept it more. But I think it starts with trial and error, right? And I think at this point in time, especially in the music sphere, and especially kudos to the music sphere, like they're like quite a tight knit family to a certain degree. They're independent. We're all pushing for the same agenda, and we're helping each other one by one. That's one of the spheres where I see that people don't shit on each other for, especially if you're an artist working with another artist. It's like, yo, go man, do it, do it, do it. Okay, you fail, but hey, pick yourself up. Let's go again. Another song, another album, you know. And I think that's one of the best spheres of society that I've entered, you know, in the last few years.
Yeah, there is a sense of brotherhood.
Yeah, there's a sense of brotherhood, sisterhood, and like a sense of belonging. You know, no matter how tough it gets, no matter how much money you miss out on, you know, it's like it's so pure still, and it's like it's one of the most liberating feelings. So I guess from there we can like the listeners can I guess like sort of take that as like a hey, let's push the creative sphere, you know, whether it's video, whether it's music, whether it's graphic design and all this kind of stuff, because I think we're in a place of turmoil, don't you think? Like, not to say turmoil like catastrophe, but there are certain like unanswered questions, and that's where art prevails. Yeah. What do you think of that? In fact, like, I want you to share your thoughts on that a bit while I'll go to the bathroom. I actually need to use the loo. Okay, just share it with the listeners. Enjoy yourself.
All right, man.
All right.
I would say that art is basically a slice of life. To understand art is to understand uh, parts of life, and like the creative sphere. Okay, creativity, it means to create something, and to create something is basically a very noble aim, because we cannot live our life just following and just consuming stuff that other people create, and not not making an impact to the world. No matter how small the impact is, it still matters, because the essence of being human is to pass information to the next generation, and the creative sphere really does this through their creations, because the next generation can learn from it and can create more things to capture the essence of life, thus encouraging growth as a society. Growth is what it means to live. To live and not to grow, you better be dead, because, like, the time when you're not growing is when you're in the ground.
Oh, I captured a bit of that last bit. Oh, that's pretty deep. The only time when you don't grow is when you're in the ground.
Yeah.
Even though plants grow from ground,
but we
not
eat plants,
humans.
bro.
So yeah, okay, that was a great one, man. Like that was a great coming into this topic, coming into this podcast. That was brilliant. I think we got a solid 1 hour there. A lot of people can learn from that, and that's essentially what this is about. So, with that being said, let's take a break for a bit and cut into the sponsors again. So, yeah, this is not really a sponsor per se, but yeah, if you want to use the loop, go
Yeah.
ahead. Yeah, but yeah, it's not really a sponsor per se, but I just want to shout out again to Lulu Digital. Lulu Digital is a company that is run by my cousin, and yeah, shout out to them because they've they've really like sort of, I don't know, I've just been watching where they're going with this. With their company, and this is the last podcast was with Camarina. And yeah, an update for all your listeners is that yeah, they were covering KL Fashion Week. Um, yeah, throughout the week, and I think they finish later tomorrow and Sunday. Yeah, kudos to them. I know that was just a little shout out to them because I'm personally motivated by how they're doing their work, and like I really find them completely like exciting, a company that everybody should be excited for, and yeah, I thought they should deserve the recognition that yeah, that they credit to where it's due, right? And I don't want to hold myself back there. Not because she's my cousin or anything, but I just completely love the dynamic of the company and how they work with each other. And yeah, so everybody check out Lulu Digital, lulu.digital on Instagram. And I think they have their website too, luludigital.com. Check them out, give them the support because yeah, I'm vouching for them. But yeah, other than that, shout out to also Tiny Forest. This is a little, for those of you tuning in on Spotify, you might want to come on to YouTube to check this out. But basically, it's a little terrarium that I just got from a friend of mine who's a manager over there. And Tiny Forest is actually, you can go there to learn and take classes on how to build your own terrariums. The details are right there for you guys on video, for you guys on audio. You can check them out on their Instagram, which is Tiny Forest SJ. Tiny Forest is actually owned by our very favorite Yuna. So yeah, if you guys are big fans, support Yuna through her businesses. Yeah. But let's get back to the show. Enough with the sponsors and shout outs. So Faris came along to actually told me about a week ago about a few things that he wants to cover on the podcast, which I found super interesting, and I think we're going to get into that in quite a bit. So let's begin that. But before I do, let me just my computer is low battery. I'm just gonna plug in the plugs. Yeah, just hold on for a bit, and yeah, we get back to it. All right, and we're back to Jouska, everybody. So Jouska is a show covering everything and all things human. Yeah, we cover these topics with people from various backgrounds, various industries, various social constructs, many different aspects of what makes a person and what makes their opinion. And we want to hear all of that and try to find some value from it for you guys listening and even for ourselves personally over here. But yes, let's get back into it. So Faris.
Yes, sir.
There's a lot of interesting topics that you brought into the light, and can't wait to get to that.
Right. It's just the things that I can't stop thinking about, basically.
Yeah, I'm sure, man. You're really adamant on talking about this. You sent the paper in a week early, which I'm super appreciative of. I love the enthusiasm, man. Really appreciate it. But yeah, let's kick it off, man. So I understand that you want to sort of talk about what it means to be woke. And what do you mean by that? By that question, where did it all root from?
Being woke, okay, woke
I've always hated that too.
Yeah, woke is a relatively new term, right?
Yeah.
I think it was popularized by Childish Gambino from Redbone.
Really?
I don't know. After that song comes out, everybody starts using woke.
Which part of the song does he say?
Stay woke.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I had a few. I don't know. I might get the timelines a bit mixed up here, but I think it was a bit before that. I think it came from this Twitter keyboard warriors, social justice warriors. Yeah, social justice warriors is another fucking word I hate. It's how fucking pretentious can you get?
Yeah, they're so they're so confident of what they know of.
Yeah.
It's kind of irritating.
Yeah, I'm like, what the hell, man? It just goes back to the whole thing of what we were talking about earlier in the podcast. Hey, what gives you the sort of audacity to think that you know it all? To even call yourself woke. Where is the level of intellect that you get to fucking call yourself awake? Yeah. You might still be sleeping, bro. You might just be dreaming of your wokeness. Exactly. Inception has just fucking told us exactly that. You might be awake in another dream. In another fantasy. But yeah, what are your thoughts on it?
So I start basically analyzing what it is to be awake in this point of time. So this is all based on my personal opinion.
Yeah.
Okay. To be woke is firstly to be aware of yourself, to be aware of your own thought process. Then it is to be aware of your surroundings as well. Um, you have to know of the system you're living in. You have to know what you can do to contribute to the current system that is that we are all living in, because you know it's too late to change the gears that move the world. So why not we be aware and we change what we can? So I would like to talk about firstly about the awareness of self.
Mm.
Okay, I think that um, the people I surround myself with, um, I would narrow it down to Nick lah. Basically, Nick is a very self-aware person because
Thank you.
he knows his own thought process. So by knowing your thought process, you can relate it to other people. You know, by knowing yourself, you know other people,
Mm.
because humankind are basically similar in a way.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know.
I mean, don't get me wrong, I fucking love what you just said about me, man. That really just puts me on a sort of a high to a certain degree. But again, like, I guess this backs up your point as well. Like, even though you just said that, like, I'm always constantly learning about my thought processes. I'm
Yeah.
always constantly learning, and it's always changing. I'm always unlearning. I'm always relearning certain things. And it's like, I guess that is what woke should be about.
Yeah.
But you still shouldn't have the audacity to call yourself woke, because the split second after you just call yourself woke, you might be asleep again.
Exactly.
It's like, I mean, yeah, I'm flattered to what you said about me, and like, but
Yeah.
it's a constant change, and
It's a
like,
learning process. Like we
yeah,
said before, to learn is to be human.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, I guess this is more towards the people who define themselves as woke or see themselves as woke, and you shouldn't lie to yourself when you fucking think you're better than everyone. Like, if you do think you're better than everyone, then think so lah. But you have the balls to even like say it. The fact that you call yourself woke. But man, I'm calling you out on your shit that if you do have the audacity to fucking say that, then you're not woke at all.
Yeah.
You know?
That is why awareness of self is only the first step of being
Mm.
woke. But then you have to be aware of your surroundings as well.
Yes.
By being aware,
Yeah.
yeah, you
No, no,
went
no.
into that. By being aware of your surrounding, you can develop sort of adaptability. So by being adaptive, you can
Yeah.
navigate through the system with proper knowledge, and
Yeah.
you won't get lost in your own bullshit. Basically,
Yeah,
yeah,
exactly. You
yeah,
need to always. There's a fine line, lah. I understand confidence. I understand knowing yourself, and I sort of But it's like flying a kite, man. Like, sometimes you gotta let it go, so that it doesn't pull too hard against the wind, so that it floats. But then again, you don't want it to float too far, so you pull it again. And you just play with that sort of momentum. Let go, pull, let go, pull.
yeah,
You gotta find that balance. And yeah, the people that sometimes say that they're woke or call themselves a part of a woke culture is they're just exaggerating certain things.
yeah.
But you have to understand that that sort of impression provides onto other people, and that's what you mean about awareness, right?
Yeah. We
Yeah.
have to know that there are things that is bigger than us.
Yeah, to have the audacity to say it in front of someone else. I know most of you motherfuckers only say it on social media because you don't have the balls to say it in person, because you know you're gonna get shit down with the next person, the person that's listening to you. But it still creates an effect. It still creates it's part of your image, and you don't really want that because it disallows you from new opportunities, from people to even talk to you. So it allows you to even it stops you from becoming even more woke. It really does, and like
It stops your learning process.
yeah, it immediately kills it.
Yeah.
It's like to say that, hey, I graduated, time to receive all the blessings in life, but it doesn't work that way. It's like even people who have finished their PhDs, man, don't fucking say that they just fully understand the universe or fully understand the constructs of society and what people go through. Yeah.
Then I would say that the awareness of surroundings. There is I've read about this positive and negative liberty. So
Mm.
positive liberty means that um, you are free to do whatever in the confines of external factors such as the law. And
Mm.
um, for me myself, I believe more in a negative liberty where you are free to do whatever you want, um, without the confines of external factors, but also without intruding on another person's liberty. That
Yeah.
is negative liberty.
Mm.
And to be aware of your surroundings, you should take that as a lesson.
Yeah.
And you know how people interact with each other, how people adjust their character based on the people that is currently surrounding them. That is called the porcupine dilemma or the porcupine complex. It is
Mm.
called that because um, the analogy is, North American porcupines, they tend to stick close to each other during winter times to so that they can provide heat to each other, but they don't go so close that their spines, or what pricks, what do you call that? That those spines, those sharp things do not poke to the nearest porcupine. They stay close, but not so close that they could hurt each other.
Mm.
You know.
That's an interesting metaphor. I really enjoy that. But yeah, I guess like what we can sort of take from that is like how like what do you say, how the system that we live in provides for that, right? So, or deviates you to sort of grow in that manner. How I don't know, like this is something that has been trickling down, and how do you think you know the system that we live in actually affects that?
Um,
How does it create that sort of thing?
um, okay. So the point is to be aware of the surroundings, right?
Yeah.
So if you're not aware of the surroundings, you just end up poking everyone, and you won't contribute anything to society,
Yeah.
basically, right?
Yeah, I understand that.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, like, my question is, like, the system that we live in, how does it, like, catalyze it? Like, how do we change that, basically? Like, what can we do to sort of, sorry, that might have been a bit unclear, but, what do we do to sort of, help this sort of situation? Like, what can we do?
Mm, to be aware of ourselves and our surrounding would really
I guess yeah,
make us.
that's a
Uh,
very personal kind of thing. But what can we do as a collective?
it would really.
Providing certain environments like initiatives.
So by being aware of all this, we can navigate ourselves through the current system that we live in, because the current system basically it is
But
a
how,
capitalist system, right?
mm,
So to say that we want to change the current system is very idealistic, and uh, from my point of view, it's very unrealistic.
mm,
So what we can do is to navigate through the system that is already built. Uh, yeah.
yeah, I get what you mean. I guess like it's a very iffy like sort of subject, and like again like we're not here to, not to say we're not here to discuss the hows, but I guess bringing awareness to it, like you said, bringing awareness to the issue again, it's already a stepping stone, and I guess we can leave it to people who are smarter than us to find actual solutions towards this, right? But yeah, um, anything else you want to add on to that though?
I strongly, at one point of my life, I strongly believe in the anarchist ideology, in which they say that we can be self-sustaining without a proper form of government that tells us what to do.
Mm.
But I do not think that our current society is ready
Yeah,
for an anarchistic state.
but I think we can. Um, you just have to re-educate because when it comes down to the education system to a certain degree,
Yeah.
right? Everything needs to be revamped. Everything needs to be refixed. You know, and I think like things like the what was it? The Jawi sort of scriptures like prevent that.
Yeah. It's it doesn't provide a solution at all.
Yeah,
Actually,
quite
yeah.
literally. I
Yeah.
think, yeah. It quite literally starts from educating because there are new schools of thought.
Yeah.
There are new ways to like sort of do this, and I think again it all begins from education, man. And I think like that's one of the first sort of steps, right, that we need to take to sort of change the system that we live in and
Yeah.
to start stimulating new ideas and new ways of life.
Yeah, I would like to add something
Yeah.
that the mass population do not have an awareness of self and surrounding is also due to the system that we are currently living in, which is a capitalist system, which encourages competition, uh, thus encourages people to gain more money. So by putting money as what an aim,
Yeah.
people, I mean, the education system is built on building workers,
Yeah.
building consumers. So the
That's a very realistic approach to the argument because I've actually quite literally had this argument a couple of days back with a friend of mine, and we talked about capitalism, and how you know its effects on society. And yes, I agree that capitalism definitely has some like sort of negative impacts that comes around it, but the argument that I made with my friend was that capitalism is already here. To a certain degree, capitalism is necessary.
Yes,
Capitalism
it's
has
entrenched in
yeah.
our society.
Capitalism has also, the benefits of it is also taught us how to organize.
Yep.
It's taught us how to sort of grow, you know. But I think you brought a very, realistic argument to the table that, like, through education and through teaching, through revamping all of that. But again, don't you think that's a bit idealistic? Yeah.
Yeah, I
to,
do.
to think like even to look at it, man. People are always going to use education as an instrument to control people. And I think one of the reasons why they don't upgrade our sort of education system is because they want to keep people dumbed down. So it's like it begs the question then, like, how do we do it in a realistic manner where it's not about ideologies anymore, it's about realistic ideas and realistic actions? How can we convince the people in power that, hey, stop dumbing down these people? I know it makes you a lot of money, which is very tempting. So how? Like, we can't say, hey, bro, cut down your profits, bro, just because, you know. What do you think? Like, how do you think we will overcome that sort of problem?
It is a slow process, I would admit.
Do you think
Because,
legislation is a very important step in that?
yeah, but we can't teach old dogs new tricks. We cannot change.
In the end, time will do its thing. Yeah.
Yes, time will do its thing. And
Inshallah.
I am very glad to do this podcast because maybe one or two of you who are listening would one day bring about that change. In the end, we just need more woke people.
Actual woke people.
Actual woke people.
Not social justice warrior woke.
Yeah.
They're just trying to create chaos and turmoil within society and don't want to lose an argument just because they're wrong.
Creating divides, right?
Yeah. That's a super interesting take. And I mean, like, when I had this conversation, I told that person, like, we actually had quite a heated argument about how, idealism and realism, needs to fall into play when coming and dealing with these sort of factors, dealing with capitalism. But I think you brought a very interesting or at least your approach to it was much more sort of realistic. Yeah, I guess the story is still yet to unfold, right, in that arena. But yeah, for all of you listening, please drop in your ideas on like what's happening. I'll be also. I told that person that yeah, you guys on the podcast have heard him before. I've had him on 2 episodes of Tyre. Yeah, we had not to say heated, it was just a very intense debate. We're still fucking friends, and that's what it's all about. It's just about discussing it, and it's like, but yeah, I'm gonna bring him on, and I think this topic is a topic that is gonna be spread through many different podcasts going into the future, and it's like, I think it's a discussion that we will be having for good 10 years, even not just us, people around us, and it's still ongoing. Like, how do we get rid of this 1% of who are controlling the rest of the 99% to think a certain way?
I wouldn't say capitalism is like all that bad.
It's not, yeah.
If the 1% focus on welfare, focus on global growth, giving like the things they have in excess to the people who really need it.
Yeah.
If all of them do that,
but that's like you said, it's hard to teach old dogs new tricks.
Yeah.
And that's where I feel like it's like super hard. It's a bit unrealistic to go and say like, hey, yo, man, you with all that much of money out there, change your ways to start helping people, because what they're essentially trying to do is just help their families live, help their kids become in the best positions possible. And isn't that what poor people even are doing?
Yeah,
99.
Survival.
Yeah, it's survival. And it just so happens that they're at the top. And it's like, given to any other person based on the current climate of the overall consciousness, like, ego is always going to fall into play, temptations to make more money, because as Allah has taught us, the material things of dunya is never enough. You know, even though Gandhi says, yeah, there are enough resources in the world to be split and shared, but that is that is very selfish in the sense that only he has that mindset. You know, he has the luxury of thinking that way. Many people are just out to survive.
Yeah.
You know, they're just working day to day to just feed their kids. You know,
Yeah.
And it's like, it's a very interesting topic, man, to discuss.
I would say that I am privileged in a way that I do not have to think about the roof above my head. I do not
Yeah.
have to think about the meals
Yeah,
that I have.
and that's the people that will be the hardest to convince. You know, even though they're in poverty, even though they're in sort of these things, but to get them to also like, hey, change your ways. Start thinking about more spiritual. Dude, they're in a time of turmoil. They have no time to think about their spirit because they're already having so much trouble trying to keep their physicality alive. So yeah, man. I'm glad you brought this topic up, and it's like super interesting and something a lot of people can learn from. It's like, hmm. But yeah, moving on from that, like yeah, I think like capitalism is obviously infused by a lot of instruments, like you sort of mentioned to me earlier about how these instruments of social control are used to again further fuel the idea of capitalism and further fuel the sort of ideas of acquiring all wealth and just take. So yeah, like what sort of instruments are you talking about that sort of create this social control?
The instruments.
Mm.
Well, um, in our day and age, I would say the we can look at the instruments through two novels, which is 1984 from George Orwell, where they control people through surveillance and also making people through, channel their emotions towards something that is that supports the government. Basically, in 1984, they have this one character that is an antagonist where everyone in the country hates him. His name is Emmanuel Goldstein. So
Big Blue.
what?
Big Blue, right?
Big Brother.
Big
But
Brother.
Big Brother is the government.
Okay,
So
okay,
Big
not the
Brother,
antagonist.
yeah, the Big Brother is always watching, but the way that they reduce the hatred towards the government is basically channeling it to hatred towards a common enemy.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how they control the people, and they always say there's like a deficit of supply, so that people would always work to gain more supplies. And another example would be the book Brave New World by Aldous Huxley, where they provide unlimited happiness to the to the population, so that they would not think of anything deeper than that. In we can like relate it to our current situation, where there is surveillance, there is misinformation, but at the same time they give us a lot of things to consume, a lot of things to make us happy, so that we would not question the ruling class. By not questioning the ruling class, they could keep us under control in their system, and they could gain as much wealth as they want, as we, the hoi polloi or the plebeians would continue to work and work and work.
Yeah, right. I get what you mean. Yeah, I guess that really brings like the sort of question like you know of even data, data mining right now, and how that further shows the prophecies of 1984 and Brave New World, right? And I think that's what we're sort of going through to a certain degree, because yeah, for me personally, like I think we discussed this before you got here, and it was like yeah, we're not criminals. We have nothing to hide to a
Yeah.
certain degree, but to a certain degree, so to a certain degree that helps us when they mine for our data, because they in the end provide a much more a great experience,
Yeah,
in
personalized experience.
personalized experience in this sort of technologically driven world. But also like that begs the question like, hey, what am I not being shown? Recording. Okay, sorry about that, guys. Camera on. Faris actually died. The battery is taking some time to charge, but we actually just have very little to actually cover. So yeah, we're focusing on just one camera right now over here, but yeah, that should be, as long as we're not missing out or anything, and we can see both of each other from one camera, that'll be perfect to just end the podcast. But yeah, we were on the tangent of data mining, and I was just talking about a bit about data mining and how it sort of contributes to sort of instruments of social control, which basically feeds into the capitalistic mindset of society. And yeah, so yeah, data mining, right? Like again, I was just explaining how data mining, yeah, it's great for people who aren't criminals and people who don't do anything wrong. But even then, on that spectrum, like that data is essentially used to also just showcase you things that you're interested in. But what about, but how far do these things actually know, you know, what you're interested in? You might be interested in a completely opposite fact than what the data has mined about you, and it's like, I think that's one of the elements of social control because, yeah, um, data mining essentially shows you what you love and suggests to you over and over again what you love, which in the end creates a sort of, I forgot what the word was, but it is essentially a data bubble. You're essentially trapped in an identity bubble whereby you're just being showcased things that you like, and that how that information can essentially be used to just feed into your ego as a person, and
It
how,
creates a divide
yeah,
between people
yeah,
of different opinions,
yeah,
right?
exactly. So when it feeds into your ego, less um, you're less exposed to the idea of listening to other people's opinions, and that can create you know a never-ending warfare between people. And I think, yeah, you bring up a very good point there in how like 1984 can, or what was the other one, the Brave New
New World.
World, how that is very much possible, and how that further infused the capitalistic mindset of feeding back into the 1%. And yeah, I think, like I said, it's a topic that still needs to be discussed over and over again, and I hope to have you on this podcast in the future. Discussing. I mean, we've gone 2 hours already on this, and I'm sure we're getting both pretty tired. actually 3:40 a.m. over here, so we had a long day today. But hopefully we'll pick this up another time. But yeah, the instruments of social control, definitely helps into the capitalistic mindset and how that isn't natural and how that really shows how capitalism can really fuck around with people and how we need to strike a fine balance, and all.
Yeah, can I add
Yeah,
something?
just please, yeah.
Yeah. The saturation of information that the saturation of personalized information that we get through this data mining would essentially make us regress as a society because people would, in essence, cherry pick what they
Mm,
receive. Thus, like what you say would create like a bubble
yeah,
that uh, like traps a person inside that
yeah,
and
that spectrum, yeah.
inhibits growth.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
inhibits growth and yeah, that is actually a very good point to bring up, because I've always argued that, hey, we need capitalism, as much as but to a certain degree, capitalism should be fine-tuned. I think
Yeah.
this is I guess, the sort of summary to it all. I don't know if you agree on that point, but or people out there agree to that point. But again, this is Jouska. We're here to just share thoughts that linger around in our heads. And yeah, please do, people who are listening, share your thoughts as well that are lingering through your head as we're listening to this podcast. Because creating a community of discussion both helps you guys as the viewers, you guys as the listeners, as the readers, and yeah, so don't be afraid, please. I'd like to be as this community to be as engaging as possible. Uh, yeah. Anything you want to final wrap up with? Anything you would like to plug? Maybe some things that you're doing that you want people to pay attention to personally, some work.
Um. No man. Oh
Yeah,
yeah. If you need a bassist, need a sessionist, can
yeah.
contact me.
Yeah. So yeah, we initially wanted to cover a lot of like music elements that Faris does, and obviously I'm also in the music sort of sphere, and but I'm very much looking forward to having you again, man, on this podcast on the next one. That's for sure. Like, there's a lot to discuss, and I think you'll be back for not even just the next episode. You'll probably be back for more. Maybe
Nah.
with more people, we can induce this conversation with more stimulation, and it's like, yeah, with more people from different backgrounds who share sort of the same ideologies. But man,
Looking forward to that, man.
thank you so much, man, for coming. Like, seriously, I really appreciate this. I understand there was a bit of hesitation at the start, but yeah, I'm glad we pulled through with this, man.
Thank you for
Quite
giving me this
literally.
platform as well.
Yeah. All right, guys. It is we're wrapping up here. So this is Jouska, a show transmitting all the way from Cyberjaya, and yeah, a show discussing everything and anything human. And yeah, I hope you guys can jump on the discussion as well. For those of you tuning on Spotify, Apple Music, sorry, Apple Podcasts, wherever it is, and whether it's Anchor or YouTube, please jump on to the comment section and yeah, give us your thoughts. All right, thanks again, Faris.
Thank you.
Signing out. And